Hi, everybody. Good morning. So lovely to see you all. Hey, Stacey. Hey, Laura. Hey, Martin. Hey, Matthew. Hi, Ben. Hi, Angela. Hey,
Morning, everyone.
Anna. Morning, Garage. Great to see you all. Hello. It's so lovely to see all your gorgeous faces this morning. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to uh, what is going to be our October Includability Employer Support Group. I hope you've all had the most fantastic week, and it's just so wonderful to see you all here with us this morning. As ever, if this is your first time with us on an Includability ESG, then a huge welcome to the family. It's wonderful to have you all with us. And of course, to all of our returning community, it's just absolutely brilliant to be by your side as always. Once again, we have an extraordinarily inspirational lineup of fabulous guest speakers for you across the next hour to help inspire you on your journey in creating a healthier and a more inclusive workplace culture for your business. I'm delighted to be joined by the wonderful Laura Slack, founder of B Corp Expert, the incredible Stacey Lohman, director and co-founder of Money First Aid, the fabulous Fiona Fleming, head of ED&I at Farah and Co, and of course, the brilliant Martin Mason, CEO and co-founder of Talent Mapper. And of course, please do take a moment to introduce yourselves on the chat feed, should you be happy to do so. We have an extraordinary and rapidly growing community here at Includability, which you are all part of. And it's a community that is superb at facilitating great introductions. So please do tell us about your world, what you do, your upcoming events, how we can support you and celebrate your business. We absolutely love shouting about the incredible work of our Includability community. Now, before we introduce our first guest speaker, I'm delighted to bring on our very own James Bravato to share some exciting updates and announcements at Includability and Disrupt. James, thank you so much, mate, and over to you.
Cheers, mate. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're having a great morning. Right, so gonna try and do a little 2 minute takeover. Probably not, but we'll give it a go. So this month we've got a lot of events going on. We have on the 27th we have our award show. It's our second annual award show. The first time done it online, so it'll be online. We have our 6 verification partners, 11 awards to win, and the nominees will be going out over the next month on the socials. So please do keep an eye on that. On the 28th, literally the day after, we have our second Links and Drinks event. That is from 6 till 9 p.m. There are about 20 tickets left. So it would be great if everybody who is thinking of coming can sign up so that we get our numbers straight. And that's at X and Y in Fivefields in London. And if you win an award, there is a possibility we can get Dave to bring the awards, if we can get him to carry them all, and you can collect your award and have a lovely photo with Dave and his smiley face at the actual Links and Drinks. Amy Polly is our special guest, so that will be a fantastic opportunity to hear from Amy, TEDx speaker. We're super excited about this, and lots of networking opportunities in a very kind of relaxed way. And if you remember, or if you came to the Links and Drinks version 1, that didn't really finish till gone 10. So I think the 6 till 9 is fairly loose. In news, just wanted to say congratulations to our brilliant co-founder, Patrick Graham. He has been appointed a non-exec direct at The Big Issue, and he will be using his 25 years of vast recruitment experience to support the Big Recruit program. He will also, because we're not letting him off, he'll also be doing all his includability and disrupt work as well. We're literally just letting him out of the basement a couple of times a month. So we're looking forward to seeing the amazing work that he's going to do there with The Big Issue, and we're super proud of everything that he's doing to take that forward. On So with our disrupt stroke includability hats on this last week, Dave, Paul Baker, Maddie, myself, and Emma went to the Planet Mark Awards. Now, if you haven't been to the Planet Mark Awards and you get an opportunity to go, I would definitely recommend it. It was a super night out, and with some fantastic meeting of people, and our amazing Emma, who does all the sustainability work for Includability and Disrupt, won an award for data capture. We are so proud of Emma and the work that she does, and also for getting us a night out in London with free drinks, which was very, very good. And so, yeah, super proud of Emma, super proud of all the work that she's doing, and we couldn't do any of the rewards programs or anything that we do without her help. So congratulations to her, which was very much her award and not anything to do with any of us. So, couple of new things that we've got going on. We've got new referral scheme. You can earn up to £295 for referring a company to us that goes on to be an includability committed employer. So, if you're already a committed employer or an ambassador, there's an opportunity for you there to make some money referring companies to us and helping us build the community. On the flip side of that, we've also got a new ambassador and partner area that we hope to launch come before the end of the year, which will be specifically for ambassador and partners to be able to kind of communicate. That will have rewards, tools, information, news, videos, all in one easy access area. Now, last couple of bits, some exciting news that we have 2 new committed employers who have finished their verification process. We have the amazing CMA recruitment, and we have Papyrus who have both gone through the process. So a big round of applause for them, for all the hard work that they've done in getting to this point. And we so look forward to helping them on their journey to the next steps to see where we can take them for the future. Back to you, mate.
James, you're the best. Thank you so much, mate. Huge congratulations to CMA and Papyrus. You're absolutely brilliant. And to Pat and Em, we love you both. We're so hugely proud. Phenomenal achievements, and what a fantastic month. And we'll be sharing a number of links in the chat feed over the course of the next hour. Chris, our lovely comms manager, will as ever be dropping further Includability Gold into the chat feed, upcoming events, celebration days, resource links, video links, and of course, supporting with any questions that you might have during the ESG itself. And whilst we also have a number of our brilliant includability committed employees already with us this morning, if you would be interested in finding out a little more as to how your company can certify as an includability committed employer and the support that we can provide through our verification process, the reporting and the member benefits, then please don't hesitate to drop a message to James or to myself. We'd be delighted to help and to guide you through those next steps and, of course, answer any questions that you might have. And now for our first guest speaker, I'm delighted to introduce the amazing Laura Slack, Sustainability Manager at B Corp Certified Honeywell Bakes, founder of B Corp Expert, one of our brilliant, inspirational includability partner experts, and of course, our sustainability verification partner for new and recertifying businesses who are supported through the includability verification process. Laura, it is so lovely to see you as always, and the virtual floor is yours.
Thank you. It's always so nice to see you, isn't it? Like we all say, to every single time, it's like a hug coming across the screen. And thank you for having me. You have to excuse me. My kids have shared their autumn lurgies with me, and I feel like I've got a cold coming. And the only drink I've brought in is a burning hot herbal tea, so it's not great. Okay, so I'm going to talk a bit about what a B Corp is and how to get there. I'm aware that everybody, let's start my timer so I don't go over time. Who's listening, you'll all, like, some of you are going to know a lot more about B Corp than others. So if there's any questions, then please stick them in the chat and I'll try and remember to have a look. So I'm going to just share a bit of a presentation with you. Hopefully you can all see that okay. So what is a certified B Corp? Now, a B Corp is a business that has gone through the certification verification process with B Lab Global. A B Corp is a company that is committed to using business as a force for good, as it says on here. It's a better way to do business, and a certified B Corp has met these standards and have been verified of doing that, doing that by B Lab. You might see the B Corp pending logo. Now that's for businesses that have been operational less than a year. So if your business is a startup, essentially, you can complete the BIA. You complete it aspirationally. The BIA is the B Impact Assessment, which I'll go into a bit more detail on. but you complete it aspirationally, saying what you want to do and what your plans are, and you're kind of committing to setting your business up based on the principles. It's just that some of the questions ask for a year of evidence, essentially, so you can't become certified until you've got that first year. So the pending isn't for people that are just waiting, it's for people that have committed, but their businesses aren't, they're just not old enough yet, essentially. So of course people say, well, this is all great, you know, we need to be doing right by the people and the planet. This is the underlying principles are people, planet, profit. So it's all about kind of considering people and the planet alongside profit, with one not being more important than the other. But it needs to work for your business. Without sustainability, of course, includes financial sustainability, and we don't want businesses to kind of, go after the environment and the social side of it, and then the businesses collapse, because that is just no good for anybody. However, there's information from studies that B Lab UK have done and other studies around the world that show that B Corps generally have faster growth in turnover and employee headcount. They have greater levels of employee retention, engagement and diversity, higher expectations for future growth, higher levels of innovation and more robust governance processes. To be honest, all of this to me makes complete sense, because like high level of innovation, for example, if you have a business where everybody in that business feels valued, whether there's 10 people or 1,000 people or 10,000 people, if everybody within that business feels valued and respected, and they're paid a wage that they can actually live on, they're far more likely to stay with the business, and they're also far more likely to speak about any ideas that they may have that could better their company. And rather than being in a business where people turn up, they don't feel valued, they don't feel that they can kind of speak their mind, and then that's your business is potentially going to be quite stunted there, because you're actually missing out on a huge pool of talent if you don't listen to everybody in the company. So to become a B Corp, the first thing you have to do is complete the B Impact Assessment. It's a free online tool. There's around 200 questions, and when you've set up your profile, you put in what type of business you are. So if you are a manufacturing company, there will be more questions on the environmental side around that, for example. If you don't have any employees, if it's just one person in the business, you won't have the workers section. So it does change, in the weighting, you can still score the same amount of points, because the weighting of the questions changes depending on that. And that I've put six weeks to complete the BIA. Really, could be done in 5 or 6 hours. So that's kind of if you put an hour a week into it and really go through it and pay attention to what the questions are saying. Because, for example, some things, if you're completing it yourself, some things they might ask for a policy, or it may say, do you do this and that? And you need to make sure that you have both and that you fulfill what it's asking. Once you've done that, you then need to look at where you need to make improvements and where's realistic for you to increase your score up to at least 80. The benchmark is 80 currently, but I would always suggest getting kind of to at least 85, because sometimes when you get to verification with B Lab, they may ask you to, you might lose a couple of points potentially, so just have a bit of a buffer there. And every business has to make some legal amendments. So if you have your articles of association, you have to change them to B Lab specific wording, which is all available online. And essentially you're putting into writing that you will consider people and the planet alongside profit with all your decision making. But you have to do that to become a B Corp pending and to become a certified B Corp. And the wording changes a bit depending on the legal structure. Now, once you've made those amendments and you score over 80 on the BIA, then you can submit, and you do have to pay some fees to B Lab, which again, you can find out how much it is online. That's all relative in relation to your turnover. And then you go into an evaluation and then verification queue with B Lab, which is when they initially are checking that you are eligible for certification. And then they'll ask you for evidence for some of your questions. And then you go on to the verification interview with them, which will be one interview, possibly two, or maybe even three, when they'll just dig a bit deeper into some of the questions and just make sure that you've got the evidence that you're doing what you say you're doing. So as long as you are honest and you are, as long as you can prove whatever you're saying, then you will be absolutely fine. It's definitely nothing to worry about. It's only if you've kind of over-egged it that you might have some challenges. And then you get certified, so which takes 12 months really would be pretty quick to go through the whole thing. 18-ish months, I think, for an SME is achievable and expected, really. So within the B Impact Assessment, these are the sections. So governance, workers, community, customers, and environment. As I say, some of these do change depending on the type of company that you have. So, but governance is all about your mission and your formal mission. So what is behind your business? What is really driving you forward, and what are you committed to? It's about your code of ethics, your accountability, your financial transparency. Then your workers, as it says here, is looking at every kind of aspect of the workers. So how well do you pay people? How much above the minimum wage do they get paid? Do they get paid the living wage? Are there any extra benefits? Obviously in the UK we have the NHS for healthcare, but is there anything on top of that? And it's also looking at any opportunities for improving at work. Do you do any development schemes? And then community looks at your supply chain. It looks at charitable donations, that type of thing, and your input into the community or communities in which you operate. Whether you do anything to try to boost your local economy, essentially. Customers for most is quite a small category. It asks about whether there's warranties for companies, for the customers, and how you look at customer feedback, and whether you take that seriously and what your routes are for doing that. An environment is overall environmental stewardship. So it's land, air, water, and biodiversity, and kind of how you cover all of those things and respect them. I'm conscious of the time ticking. So this, as you can see from this, it is a holistic kind of overall assessment of your business. And this is what makes B Corp really stand apart from other certifications. And I think it really shows you where you're doing really well, and also, of course, where there's space for increased positive impact. And that can help you look at your short-term improvements that can be done, as well as long-term, and really help kind of create a roadmap for the long-term future, so you really are creating a better business. Now, very quickly, you may have heard that the standards are changing with B Lab. So they are basically updating the BIA. So it's still the same principles, but at the moment you could, for example, score really high on workers, really poor on environment, whereas there will be kind of minimum standards across these are the categories that we're going to be having now. But one thing to know is that this isn't coming out until the end of next year. So I think early next year, they will be asking for some volunteers to go through this, but it'll be the end of next year before it's really put in place. So if you are on the cusp of it, you have plenty of time to go ahead now. But it's just, worth considering, but I don't have time to go into any more detail. These are just some B Corps that you may know. So they cover a whole range of things: food, drink, clothing, service businesses, disrupt. There's all sorts. And then that's just my contact details, but I can stick them on the thing if anyone ever wants to chat about B Corp. I love talking about it, and I shall stop now because I'm 30 seconds over my time.
Laura, no, you're absolutely perfect. Thank you so much. Amazing as ever. And if you ever thought that B Corp certification could be the right pathway for you as a business, we cannot speak more highly of Laura's brilliance in supporting that journey. She's extraordinary. Laura said it so beautifully. it can be tough. It can be a confusing pathway to navigate, especially with the new changes coming into play. But Laura will give you the clarity and the best support. She's absolutely wonderful. And of course, if you choose to become an includability committed employer, then of course you get the benefit of a fabulous 30 to 40-minute verification call with Laura to receive your sustainability star as part of that 6-star verification process. She's just so lovely. Laura, we love you. Thank you so much. That was absolutely brilliant. And now for our second guest speaker, I'm delighted to introduce the brilliant Stacey Lohman, co-founder and director at Money First Aid. I had the great pleasure of first chatting with Stacey about 3 months ago after she came onto one of our ESGs earlier in the summer. And as a financial expert, she is doing incredible work in providing members of the business community, often with no prior financial knowledge, with the necessary skills and the knowledge in supporting others in overcoming the financial difficulties that we can all face in life. She's amazing. Stacey, I'm so thrilled that you're here. Thank you so much for joining us. And the virtual floor is yours.
Thank you, Dave. Such a brilliant introduction. And I have felt so supported by Includability since I joined my first session in July. So it's a pleasure to be here. Hi, everyone. I'm Stacey, was an investment banker in a previous life. My first day at work was in September 2008 in Canary Wharf in the credit crisis, where all of those big banks were failing. And since then, I survived, shall we say, about a decade in those working environments. And then I quit it all and went and lived in a camper van around Europe for a couple of years and started my own financial coaching business, focused on supporting people who wanted to manage their money in a way that was aligned with their environmental, social values. For the last 5 years, I've been in financial wellbeing in the workplace with various startups, looking at different solutions as to how we can provide effective financial wellbeing in the workplace, which is where I met my wonderful co-founder, Rachel, who was a financial advisor. And we really asked ourselves, how can we address financial inclusion in the workplace? So financial well-being is relatively new as a workplace benefit, let's call it. And so far it's focused on more longer term financial planning. So auto enrollment with pensions, we're starting to see some kind of save as you earn, invest as you earn schemes, and some financial education with webinars and content and lots of different approaches to it. But still a lot of it is focused on longer term financial planning that a lot of people might feel excluded from for many different reasons. I totally forgot to share my slides. I just started chatting and I went away. Let's go here. So, I've been delivering sessions in workplaces where, because of somebody's role, they felt like they couldn't engage in financial wellbeing in the workplace because they worked in the finance department and everybody thought they should already have it all together. Or it might be that somebody's facing a life event like a divorce, a bereavement, having a new child, financial abuse in a relationship that just means they don't have the capacity to think about their longer term financial planning. Or it might be that people identify with a certain religion, a community, money beliefs from an upbringing, a gender that might assume, or they might therefore assume because of those beliefs, that this isn't for them. So Rachel and I, with Money First Aid, are really trying to address how can we make financial wellbeing in the workplace more inclusive. So we designed, inspired by the success of mental health first aiders and wellbeing champions in the workplaces, a fully online self-paced training course for employees to become certified Money First Aiders. It's a human approach. Hopefully it provides colleagues with somebody in the organization that they can go to confidentially to have those difficult money conversations. It addresses very specific financial difficulties that people might be going through to hopefully try and break down some of those taboos or shame around some of those challenges. And it signposts to more than 40 already existing, free, credible, brilliant charities, state support, local authority support that already exists out there that can support people with some of these challenges that they might not be accessing now because they don't know it exists, or they feel shame around accessing that type of support, or they just don't know how to access it. So Money First Aiders will be aware that they exist, and there are suggested exercises throughout the course so they familiarize themselves with how to access them, and they can talk other people through that. It's affordable for organisations. It's £99 for one Money First Aider. And it's a community which we are building. So we launched in April. We now have Money First Aiders in 30 organisations. And once somebody becomes a certified Money First Aider, they retain access to all of the online course content and downloadable resources. So let's say this week I'm introducing a section on financial support available for people with caring responsibilities. So once that's live, I'll let everybody know who's already completed the training, and they can go and access that as well, so that information and knowledge stays up to date. So let me give you a sneak peek of what the course looks like. Nail biting moment. Let's hope this works smoothly. Yes, perfect. Here we go. So it's an online course, self-paced. You can see kind of as you progress, but you can dip in and out with 15-minute slots whenever somebody has time. So this means that if you have people on a night shift in your organization, or on the road, or in the warehouse, or in the shop, or in different areas around the UK, they can complete it as well. And the translations actually work quite well just on different Chrome and Safaris. We've had some of them tested. So if there are people without English isn't a first language, hopefully it's accessible for them too. But the information is specific to the UK. So there's 5 modules. And it's interactive, what a Money First Aider is, importantly, the boundaries, so what a Money First Aider can support with, what they can't support with. And then there's lovely little quizzes at the end of each section to test knowledge and embed that information. And then here are some of the specific financial challenges that we go through. So debt crisis, financial abuse in relationships, childcare, gambling and addiction, living paycheck to paycheck, financial scams, the important connection between money and mental health, how we start building that financial resilience. And then in module 4 is when we dive down into the specific support that's available. There's £23 billion in financial support from state benefits last year that went unclaimed. So if people know that this is available, know that they might be eligible for that support and how they can claim it, that can make a huge difference in people's lives. And so we go through all of the different challenges that we've spoken about and what brilliant free support is already out there for people. And then at the end, we have a quiz where they find out in real time if they've passed, and then they get a lovely certificate to be a Money First Aider. So that's what the course looks like. We launched in April. I'm sure the design will continue to improve. But just to finish with my little talk, I wanted to offer everybody on the call today free access to become a certified Money First Aider for your organization. And in return, seeing as we are so new and we constantly want to improve and learn and make the course even more inclusive, given all of your expertise on the call, if in return you could provide us with some expert insights or resources for us to include in the course. If you have struggled yourself and used some sort of support through a life event that impacted your finances, and you would be happy to provide even an anonymous case study of what you went through, that really helps us to give the Money First Aiders confidence that they can support people who went through something like that, or break down some of those taboos and shame around other people who might be facing those challenges. or a guest article for our blog, a kick-ass testimonial, or any kind of warm introductions to organizations. I'm hoping, having just seen Laura's presentation, perhaps having Money First Aiders in your organization would boost your workers score on the B Corp assessment too. Maybe Laura would have to check it out and confirm that for me. But yes, if you wanted to become a Money First Aider for free, hopefully we can put my details in the chat and you can access that. But yes, thank you very much for listening.
Wow, Stacey, that was absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. And what a wonderful opportunity for our teams to not only build their own financial knowledge, but also to use those newfound skills to support their colleagues within the workplace. What an amazing benefit for any business. And Stacey, thank you so much. What a gorgeously kind and generous offer. So please, everybody on the call today, please do reach out to Stacey and Money First Aid. I know that Chris is popping some great links and contact details in the chat feed now. Stacey, thank you so much again. And honestly, just one of my favorite humans ever created. The time I get to spend with Stacey is always a joy. She's so knowledgeable. She's so lovely. And I think this would be an extraordinary benefit for any organization. So please, what an opportunity. Absolutely go for it. Stacey, you're fabulous. Thank you again. Absolutely brilliant. And now for our third guest speaker. And I'm really excited, as we always love to hear from our includability committed employers and learn from them as to what they're doing within the workplace to support an inclusive, mentally healthy and sustainable culture. I'm delighted that we're joined by the wonderful Fiona Fleming, head of ED&I at Farr & Co, and one of our incredible, inspirational includability ambassadors, and of course, recently shortlisted as DE&I Champion of the Year as part of the Women in Diversity in Law Awards that will be held in London in spring next year. Fiona, it's just wonderful to have you with us as always, and the virtual floor is yours.
Hard to live up to that incredible introduction. Thanks, Dave. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a hot minute since the last time I was at one of these, so it's a genuine thrill to be chatting to everyone. I don't have slides, I'm afraid, so you're just going to have to look at lots of little faces with no big slides. But I've been asked to come and talk to you today, I guess a little bit about how you can help to build or create a more inclusive workplace. So for those who don't know me, which is probably pretty much everyone except Dave, my name is Fiona Fleming, pronouns are she, her, and I'm the head of ED&I at Farr & Co. So Farr & Co is a London-based law firm, but we have quite an international client base. It is one of, if not the longest running independent law firm in existence in the UK. So we've been around since 1701 and literally in the same building in central London since around that same time. So a firm very, very deeply rooted in tradition and all of the types of traditions that I think people typically think of when they think of law firms. So very posh, very white, very male, very straight, very middle class. So helping this organization to build a more inclusive culture has certainly been somewhat of a challenge over the last couple of years. But there are a few things I think that work, no matter which organization you're working in, that helps you to set yourself up, I think, for success. So I just wanted to share a few of those with you. I think the first thing for me is start with data. Make data your best friend until you get to grips with all of the ED&I type data that you hold. You are not going to be able to build a sustainable and workable strategy for your organization. And when I talk about data, I mean your qualitative data as well as your quantitative data. What is it really telling you? So what I mean by that is, for example, we have a lot of measures in place at Farrah & Co. To support mental health and wellbeing in the workplace. So for an organisation of just over 500 people, we have 52 trained mental health first aiders. It's not because we need one for every 10 employees, but we do genuinely just have a lot of people who are very, very passionate about it. We have an EAP, we have in-house counselling. So we have a counsellor who literally is in our building and provides free sessions to all of our employees. And one of the data points that we tend to look at is how often our mental health sort of support services are used. And on the surface of it, the data says not very much. So our mental health aiders are not contacted a lot, neither is our in-house counsellor or our EAP. So on the surface, what it looked like was that we were doing pretty well. Nobody was really struggling with mental health at all. But on the flip side, what we also saw that there were a lot of people who were being signed off with burnout and stress-related illness. So what it actually told us by interrogating the data slightly more was that it wasn't that it was a mentally healthy workplace, it was that people were actually terrified to talk to people within the organisation itself about what they were experiencing. So when I talk about getting to grips with your data, it's so incredibly important to do that, because that is where the stories are going to come out, and that's going to be your starting point for building a really sustainable and accountable strategy. So I think the second point, which sort of follows on from that, is about being intentional and setting that strategy, but having an achievable action plan alongside that. And I think that, again, is a very, very important thing to remember when you're building an inclusive workplace. There's a lot of pressure on you. Particularly if you're the person responsible for setting everything your organisation does in this area. ED&I is a long game to play, but what people want to see is change. And so managing expectations around the length of time that it takes to really embed an inclusive culture is super, super important. So when you're setting your strategy, you need to make sure that the goals and the actions that you're setting are achievable for you and your organization. So I think it was maybe Mark Twain or someone else like that who said that comparison is the thief of joy. For me, it's the thief of progress. I think a lot of organizations fall into the trap of comparing themselves to where their competitors are, and that will get you absolutely nowhere. It's a huge thing in the legal industry. Whenever we're looking at new partnerships, the first thing they ask is, what other law firms are using this organization? And can they give us a quote about how great they are? It's taken me a long time to convince our management board that that is a really stupid idea most of the time, because every organization is unique. It has its own sets of challenges, it has its own culture, and what you need to be able to do is set a strategy and a direction that is going to work for your firm, your organization, and where it is. So setting that clear strategy, making sure the actions are actually going to be achievable, is a huge one, and setting those expectations right from the beginning. I think the other thing that I have learned is to pick your battles. It can be very, very difficult in the world of ED&I when you have so many people in your organization desperate for you to do something that is going to make their lives better, to not want to do everything all at once. And that is a very, very dangerous path to tread. So as much as it might feel that deep down it's sort of against your values, you do genuinely have to pick your battles, and you have to understand where you have to accept a no, and when you are willing to put yourself on the line. I've had several experiences like that. So one in particular was convincing our board that we needed a transition and change to gender expression policy within our workplace. It took me over 12 months to convince them that this was the right thing to do. And that was a battle that I wanted to pick. So that was one I had already decided I was not going to accept no on, and that I would spend my whole career at Farrers, if that's what it took, convincing our management board to put that policy into place, because it was so incredibly important. There are others where I have had to go away and lick my wounds and have a cry in a dark corner for a little while. And I think why you have to pick your battles does go back to that. It is about the long game. And so while you have to focus on the day-to-day of getting things done, you have to focus on the bigger picture of where you're needing to move to. And sometimes a no is a no for now, but not a no for always. So it's always just very, very important to remember why you're doing what you're doing. There will always be people within your organization who don't want you there, who don't want you making change, and who are going to be quite active and quite vocal about wishing that you weren't around. And you have to be able to shut that noise out and to remain focused on what you want to do. I think you need to be able to celebrate the small wins. As I said before, it is a long game, ED&I, and it can feel like you're never getting to the place where you want to be. And the truth of the matter is, no organization is getting it right. And we have decades and decades and decades ahead of us to make sure that this works. So celebrating the small wins is actually hugely important in keeping your own motivation and your own focus going. So in my very small team of 3 people, at the end of each working week on a Friday, we share with each other our 3 small wins of the week. They don't even necessarily have to be work related. For example, mine this week will be that I have maintained a relative level of sanity whilst having my son on 2 weeks of October half term, which has felt like approximately 700 years. The other one is sort of having gone through 253 CVs for our 10,000 Black Interns program yesterday. I managed to smash that out in a day. So that's a small win. But keeping yourself motivated by focusing on those things is hugely important for your own sanity, because working in ED&I can be hugely taxing. And you need such incredible levels of empathy and stamina to get through it. I know I'm almost to time, David. I'm so sorry. I think the most important thing is, well, okay, there's 3 actually. Be accountable, be genuine, and be transparent. These are the 3 things that I live by every time I turn up to work, and just in my life, to be honest. Be accountable. It's hugely important to set the standards and to be a role model for those standards and behaviours. And when you get it wrong and when you fuck up, excuse my French, which you will do, you have to be able to own up to it and say, this time I made a mistake. And this is what I'm going to do to fix it. You have to be the role model that you want everybody else to be as well in the organization. Be transparent again. Admit when you're getting things wrong. Admit that your organization is not where you need it to be. I think the biggest thing that we have worked on at Farrers is that it was a law firm that never wanted to admit that it ever got anything wrong. And actually working with the board over the last 2 years, where they will now in fact get up in front of the entire partnership and tell them where they're going wrong, is such a massive step forward in people feeling that partners aren't the be all and end all of the law firm, and they do in fact make mistakes sometimes, but that the board is actually holding itself to account for the mistakes that are made. It's hugely important. And be genuine. People in ED&I can sniff the bullshit out from like 600 miles away. I can absolutely tell when someone cares about what we're doing and when someone isn't or doesn't really care. But be genuine, because people can tell when you care, and when you want change to happen. I think I've wanged on quite a bit. I'm sorry I didn't have slides, but I think I generally kept to time. I forgot to actually set my timer. It just sat there doing, I did put the clock on and then forget to press go. So that's me. I don't know if anybody has any kind of questions about particular projects, but I'm always happy to kind of chat about what's worked and what hasn't for me.
Oh my word, Fiona, you're amazing. Like, thank you so much. Just awesome and inspirational as ever. And thank you so much, I think, for not only sharing some wonderful examples as to how a company in any sector, no matter the size, hitting those challenges, but how they can begin to support the team in the right way through just a constant desire to be strong and be brave, to build knowledge, to engage, to create that flourishing community within the workplace. But just for your courage and for sharing the really kind of tough, unglamorous side, the hard work, the energy, the devotion that you have to put in on a day-to-day basis. I mean, you're extraordinary, and we've known each other for a long
Oh
time.
my
And
God, stop it. Stop it. You're going to make me.
I
You're
think
gonna
I'm
make me
gonna
blush.
well up.
It's like my favorite, oh, not my favorite, but I think that one of the most interesting experiences I had was when we rolled out a new mandatory inclusion training program. And we then made sure that if people didn't undertake the training, then they were not eligible for their bonus, and their bonus would be withheld. Surprising how many people decided that mandatory training was in fact quite important. But we had a very stubborn partner who he was like, I just don't care. I don't care if I take the training or not. I don't care if my my bonus is withheld. But he did enjoy ringing me and Teams calling me to have a go at me about how bad the training was, despite the fact that he had literally not even opened the link to do the training. And I was like, this is a good day for me. Like, no one signed me up for that. So, you know, if you
No.
can get through someone yelling at you about a training that they haven't taken, then you're doing all right.
Fiona, you're extraordinary. Thank you so much. Honestly, you're wonderful. And you know what? Breaking all includability and partiality rules. I've just double checked the other nominees specifically within Fiona's category at the Women in Diversity and Law Awards. Farron Co are the only includability committed employer that feature within that category. So without all ado, we hope you win magnificently. We'll all be rooting for you. Fiona, thank you again for all of your time and for allowing us to steal you away. You are absolutely brilliant. Thank you. And now, my words, just before I introduce our fourth and final guest speaker, we would love you to vote for a charitable project that we can support on your behalf this morning through our partnership with the wonderful B1G1. Many people will know this. Forgive me, I know I always hark on every ESG that we're on together, but they're a brilliant global giving platform. They support hundreds of charitable projects, both in the UK and internationally, all positively impacting the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So as ever, you're doing an incredible thing for the planet simply by being awesome and just hanging out with us this morning. Chris is going to drop these options into the chat feed for you now. 3 amazing high impact community projects for you to choose from. And please do simply pop the letter of your chosen project in the feed, A, B, or C. Project A is providing access to clean water to families in Cambodia. Project B is planting trees for forest protection in India. And Project C is the gift of 5 textbooks to disadvantaged children in Kenya. 3 extraordinary projects. And if you get the opportunity, please take a look at the B1G1 platform. I know we've got Gunraj on the call with us this morning. Gunraj, lovely to see you, mate. And we just fanboy about the brilliance of B1G1 on a daily basis. They are extraordinary. So please do check them out. Drop your votes in the chat feed, cast your votes. And as you do so, I am delighted to introduce our fourth and final guest speaker this morning, the wonderful Martin Mason, CEO and co-founder of Talent Mapper, one of our brilliant includability partner experts, and of course, our talent management verification partner for those new and recertifying businesses who again are supported through the includability verification process. Martin, it's so great to have you with us as always, my friend, and the virtual floor is yours.
Oh, Thanks, Dave. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. And yes, lovely to be here with all of you today, folks. So yes, my name is Martin Mason, pronouns he, him, and I have the pleasure of working with Dave and the team at Includability as their talent management partner, helping the businesses that come through the includability process to examine their talent management practices to make sure they're as inclusive as possibly can be. Very similar to Fiona, I have spent most of my career in-house leading talent and EDIB teams in global organisations. And one of the reasons I ended up starting Talent Mapper and the organisation that we work in now is based on a lot of the things that Fiona shared in her talk around trying to create more accountability, more transparency and clarity to people within organisations. I continually found the same kind of challenges within organisations that unfortunately you needed to enact some really positive systemic change in order to really move the dial on EDIB within an organisation. And too often there were lots of people that were incredibly passionate about it, that would often talk very eloquently about it, but I really wanted to find pragmatic solutions that would help us to alleviate the barriers that exist around inequity within organisations. And so that's why we founded Talent Mapper. But I thought it would be helpful to kind of share with you some information and some stats that you might be able to take into your own businesses and some tips and tricks that might help you unlock some barriers in your talent management process. So I'm going to share a bit of information with you today. We have only got obviously a very short window of time. So if anyone wants to chat about talent management outside of this, I can geek out on that for hours. So do connect with me and happy to have a chat anytime that you want to about this, because it's quite a deep subject and one that I hold very close to my heart. So with regard to inclusive talent management, one of the key reasons for doing this, not only as most of you as includability partners will value the people aspect of this, but there's also a massive commercial benefit to getting this right for organisations, which often in my experience is a bit of a winner with boards, because they do tend to like a good commercial return on their investments. So when you put in really good and robust talent management practices around EDIB, what we typically see on average is a 56% higher operating result performance versus competitors that don't have those practices in place, which translates to a 14% EBIT positive performance. So these are not small numbers. I'm yet to meet any executive board I've worked with over the last few years that don't like to see an increase in their profitability. And one of the ways that we know that we can achieve that systemically is by getting more innovation, better productivity, and better wellbeing for people within organisations, all of which stems back to better inclusion. Unfortunately, we know that the systems that exist within organisations are often stacked against individuals, mostly unintended, but unfortunately there's an awful lot of bias baked into the talent process in organisations. And we see this time and time again, and all the research and data supports this, both with kind of large academic institutions, but also we've experienced this quite a lot with the 80+ organisations we've worked with over the last few years. And what we typically see is that unfortunately, with talent for promotion, it very rarely is based on objective data. It tends to be quite a subjective process internally. And because there's a lack of systems or process around this, we typically see that underrepresented groups find it hardest to break that glass ceiling to get through to mid to senior levels within the organisation. And it isn't down to their capability or it being a meritocracy, it's purely down to proximity and accessibility to senior leaders. And unfortunately, bias tends to creep into that process. So here's an example data point that shows the same individual when we started to tweak their data and profile, how successful they were in progressing through the promotion process. So we know that data is a critical thing to help alleviate the barriers in that process. One of the best ways as an organisation that you can tackle this is to move to, you'll see this as the hot topic everywhere at the moment, but to move to a skills-based approach to talent. If you can do that, it removes all subjectivity out of the process. And we see time and time again, massive improvements in internal mobility and the ability for individuals to move up and through the organisation. One thing that you can do as a bit of a hack for this, so for those of you that are in SMEs with very tiddly budgets, been there, done that, know that very well. And I know that sometimes it's very hard to put systems and processes in around this stuff. So you can very simply put into ChatGPT about a role and ask what the skills are, and it will tell you the key things to assess for in that process. And from that, you can also create some pretty good interview packs in a more objective fashion as well. And it'll start to take out some of that human bias. For those of you in organizations that have any form of HR technology, there are tools like ours that you can use that will help to automate that process and remove the barrier or bias out of that as well. The key things that we see time and time again that move the dial on this are being able to capture people's skills and capability, understanding what their aspirations are, and then looking at what availability they have for moves within the organization. Once you start to get this in place from a systemic point of view, we see massive returns in terms of promotion for particularly ethnic diversity, neurodivergence, and gender. So in terms of what the future looks like in this space, well, we have sought to try and create this. So one of the things that the team and I work on is how we can remove these systemic barriers to entry for organizations. So to Fiona's point earlier, creating transparency, particularly around career progression, is a massive lever to improve social and internal mobility. And we've got data that demonstrates that. So creating a framework where you can make career accessible and visible, like we're using a platform like ours, and also using data to find people for roles rather than more subjectivity is one of the best ways to tackle that. And my summary snapshot for this, for anybody trying to implement an inclusive talent management strategy, is be systemic. Exactly what Fiona said before, capture data, using tech to help collate that, to keep it objective, be transparent, focus on the output, making sure that you're clear about what success looks like for a role and measuring against that and nothing else, and then using data to make sure that you use the right tools to make those decisions. That's it from me, Dave, because I'm very conscious we're at time. So I will hand back over to you.
Martin, you are absolutely brilliant. Thank you so, so much. Incredible insights as ever. And Talent Mapper team do extraordinary work in supporting businesses to break down those barriers to social mobility and to mitigate the bias that traditional HR practices can create. They're an amazing group. And if you haven't yet had the chance to watch Martin's videos on LinkedIn, then please do give them a watch. They are absolutely excellent. Martin, thank you again. So grateful for all the work that you do, and massive appreciate all of your time with us this morning. Thank you as always, my friend. And that
Always a
brings
pleasure.
us, thank you, bud, and to you as well. And my word, that brings us to the end of our ESG this morning, the last, as James said, of our traditional formatted ESGs for the year, because next month, of course, Wednesday, the 27th of November at 10:30 a.m., we will be hosting our annual Includability Awards. It's online, you're all invited, and we'll be celebrating our ambassadors, our partners, and our includability committed employees across a number of award categories to recognize their brilliance throughout the last 12 months where they are on their journey. We'll also be hearing from our fantastic includability verification partners. So Laura and Martin, bless them, will be straight back into action. And all of our fantastic finalists will be announced over the coming days by Chris on the socials. And of course, as a reminder, the day after the awards, we will be hosting our Includability Links and Drinks event on the evening of Thursday, the 28th of November, just as James said, at the beautiful Firefields XMI building, right next to Victoria Station in London. We have the amazing Amy Polly as our guest speaker for the night, and it's a great opportunity to introduce you to potential collaborators and inspiring minds. It's such a fun night. You are the includability community. We need you there. We'd love you there. And we love welcoming new friends. So for goodness sake, bring a friend with you. The registration links to both events will be dropping into the chat feed again for you now. Chris, thank you so, so much. Oh, my word. It's been the most brilliant ESG this morning, and we really hope you've enjoyed it. A huge thank you to our wonderful guest speakers, to Laura, Stacey, Fiona, and Martin. What unbelievable humans you all are. Thank you so much for all of your insights, for sharing your wisdom with us today. And of course, from James, Chris, and myself, and the whole team at Includability and Disrupt Agency, a huge, huge thank you to every single one of you for joining us this morning. Until we meet again, let's keep working in partnership to develop that mentally healthy and inclusive workplace culture. We can't wait to see you all in November for the Includability Awards. And of course, for links and drinks. Love to you all, and have an incredible rest of your week. Take good care, everyone. Bye for now.